Alright, so I'm here with Dean in front of his wild discus tanks, and I've been wanting to do a spotlight video. I just did a spotlight video on the Cobra Guppies.
Right.
And I wanted to do on these guys because they catch my eye every time I come into your fish room. And could you tell me just where you got these, and then I'll ask you questions after that.
So these guys, we are out of the Rio Nene system in Peru. They're officially called the Peruvian Green Red Spot Discus. That's what they call them down there. And they're not naturally from that river, but there's some story where a boat or a plane was transporting them and it crashed, and the discus got out that they were being transported. They were going to some wholesaler in Brazil, and then they established themselves in this one river, and we collected in that river.
Oh,
and that's
wow,
where these guys were from.
That's amazing. So it's just like a big old accident.
Yeah. Obviously, as you can see in the video, they're a little bit stressed out. I mean, we've got lights. We've had other people in here. Mm-hmm. But they are very cool to sit back and watch.
Definitely. A lot cooler than, the discus we have in our hobby. These are a lot like the Santarums that you see in the Stinker discus.
Right.
Just more orange, brownish.
Right.
I just like them a lot more.
Right.
And how do you keep them? What the temperature is? And
so I keep them at 84 degrees. Mm-hmm. The water's soft. It becomes slightly acidic. It comes out of my tap at about 8.4. I do water changes right with that water, right out of the tap. But it settles in the tanks at somewhere between 6, 8, and 7, in that general range. If I don't do water changes as often, it'll drop even lower. And then usually this particular pair has spawned a couple times. Have not had successful spawns yet, but they spawned a couple times with a big water change after that.
Any wigglers?
Not yet.
No.
It's kind of been a timing thing, and also usually first 3 or 4 times with discus, they don't really know what to do, so they'll pick up on that as it progresses, I think.
So them being wild, you kept regular discus before?
Tons.
So these are a lot more finicky.
No.
Okay.
I would say the opposite. Because I spawned and raised discus for 15 years. In my old fish room, I had most of the time I'd have 21 to 23 pairs going at a time, and it was primarily a discus hatchery. I had some other fish, but primarily discus. And most of the thing we were looking for back then was the solid turquoise or the red turquoise discus. So over the course of years of doing that, you learn that discus are they picky or are they not? They're really not. So when I brought these back, my first thought is, okay, am I going to have to do a lot of live food? My first feeding to these was dry food.
And they take it?
And they took it.
Wow.
Right from the surface. Because in nature, in the river, I didn't see a lot of live food. Most of the things was a dead insect dropping in the river, mm-hmm. or fruit or nuts or other debris that gets washed in. We didn't see a lot of live. We never saw any live worms. They're probably in there maybe, but so I found these to be less picky than back years ago raising them myself.
Wow, that's
they're awesome fish too. The color in these, right now we're seeing what I consider the fright pattern, mm-hmm. which is where you see the bars and they get a little darker.
Kind of like your T-shirt right now.
Kind of, yeah. but the red is intense, and we shipped our fish back from a wholesaler there who had discus in his tanks, and I got a little bit of time to talk to him, and he said the way that these fish are priced is by how many red spots are on the side.
Oh.
So less than 15 is one price, more than 15 to 30 is another price, mm-hmm. over 30 is another price. So they sell them based on the red spotting.
And what's the price?
Okay,
average price.
If I was to buy these in Peru, full grown, like a 5-6 inch fish, mm-hmm. they don't sell a lot of smaller ones. They just don't. And we never saw them collected either. So I don't know whether they're just better at hiding or maybe it's seasonal. They would typically sell a 5-inch discus, wild caught, $10, $10 US. And some of these I actually traded T-shirts for.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So.
And they eat discus over there. I'm pretty sure
they will eat them. It's not the best food fish because there's a lot bigger ones.
Yeah.
But if it comes to eating or not eating, they'll eat any fish that comes out of that river.
Like the Vietnamese culture, we have a lot of the flatter fish, and we love eating the flatter fish. They just taste
tastier.
Yeah, they're just tastier for some reason.
Yeah, exactly. For breeding, I mean, right now, these are in 20 highs. A lot of people will think that's too small, but the purpose here is breeding, not raising them or not showing them. Show tank for these would be like a 40 breeder or a 55 would be better space-wise. These do get a lot of water changes.
How many do you go through a day?
I would say, well, I don't do it daily. I would say 3 or 4 times a week.
Okay.
They will get at least a half tank water change.
Oh wow, so 50% every time. That's
and then occasionally I'll do, like if I'm doing the auto water change, sometimes I will let it run for 3 or 4 hours, which would basically pump in 20 or 30 or 40 new gallons, so it's diluting it. But still, if you're going to keep a fish in a more crowded atmosphere, you have to be sure that you're keeping the water quality good.
Yeah.
And I know I've talked with Corey about this a lot. When we were in that one river where we were collecting the the plecos, the amount of fresh water these fish are getting in nature
cannot be replicated.
We can't. There's no way we can do it. We'd be putting a fire hose into a tank like this. And it's even though the water has a lot of turbidity in it, or tannins, dirt, leaves, it's still a lot of fresh water, and we just can't duplicate that in a tank.
So that leads me to my next question: is what kind of filters are you running on there?
Okay, so in this tank, I've got a corner matin filter, and what you don't see is behind the filter is the heater. There's also a little bit of coral. Because our water's so soft, I have to buffer it a little bit so I don't get a pH crash. And then there's an intake to the canister filter. And the canister filter is purely biological, and then the canister filter drops back in right near the top of the corner matin filter. And that's just, okay, I got to be honest. I had the canister filters, might as well use them.
Yeah.
But I find that extra little bit of flow will keep a lot of the debris off the bottom, or it'll keep it into one place where I can siphon it easy. And it provides a little bit of extra flow in the tank, where the matin filter by itself would probably be sufficient. I tend to overfilter.
Right.
I tend to overfilter every tank that I have.
All right, and so if you can give one piece of advice to breeding discus.
To breeding, okay. Let them pair off naturally. I mean, you can spend a lot of money and buy a pair. $500, $600, $700, whatever. You can do that, but as that pair is shipped to you, they might not ever spawn again. That's a possibility. So I would buy a group of them. If you can get a group at 2-3 inches, and when I say group, I'm thinking 8, 10, 12, 14. Grow them out. Start in a 40 breeder, maybe move them up to a 75 or a 125. Let them pair themselves off. You're going to have a lot better pair bonding than if you're trying to pair them off yourself. Advanced breeders, I mean, I used to be able to pick a male and female, put them together, and get eggs within a week or two. But that's going to take a lot more practice than if you're just doing it, trying to do it, and if you've never done that before. So yeah, get a group, let them pair off. When I brought back from Peru, I only had 7 fish that I caught. 5 made it to shipping. 4 made it alive. and I'm pretty sure, well, I know this is a pair. We don't know about the other two over here. I don't know. I think it's a male and female, but I haven't seen any spawning activity from them.
All right, Dean, I think that covers about everything.
Great.
Thank you so much for, doing another video with me.
You got it.
Jimmy Dean duo.
There we go. You got it.
All right, you guys. See you guys on the next one.
Yep. Cheers. Oh, Randy's here. When did you get here?